This week on Another Movie Podcast, we talk about all things Comic-Con.
And Joaquin Phoenix, is that how you say it? Anyway, his Joker has been joined by another legendary actor.
And the cast of Episode 9 has finally been released with a major spoiler inclusion.
Dun dun dun, Jabba the Hutt's coming back.
No, not Jabba the Hutt. Hello and welcome back to Not Another Movie Podcast. I am Sean Pierce.
And I am Sean Chalie.
And we are back to talk about all the movie news, reviews, and info for the week. So let's kick straight back into it, because this week is a week that we both look forward to. It's the Comic-Con week where all the new shit comes out, all the new information about upcoming films gets released, and an absolute exciting time for both of us. But I gotta say, this year was pretty fucking lackluster, to be honest.
It's supposed to be Christmas in July, and it was more like, I don't know, weird Christmas at your uncle's house that you try to forget.
It's more like the honeymoon night for my wife. It's like, oh, is that it?
All this talk and
all the
this
build
hype.
up for that?
Yeah, I mean, I like early releases, but not that early.
Yes, it's sad but true. But yeah, I got to admit, I remember waking up Sunday morning thinking it was Christmas. I jump on my phone, see what we've got, and I'm like, yes, we've got the Aquaman trailer. Yes, we've got Shazam. Yes, we've got the new Godzilla. And I'm waiting for the rest of the day. There was nothing else released.
It's like refresh. What are they doing there? Come on, get your shit together, guys.
Well, I have a theory.
Oh, yeah?
Because now Disney have basically their own version of Comic-Con. It's called the D23 convention.
Yep.
Now, we don't get any Star Wars news at Comic-Con. We don't get any Marvel news at Comic-Con because they're all saving that shit for their own Disney D3 convention.
Good point. Will Comic-Con go back to just being about comics? Crazy.
No, I doubt it.
No, I agree. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Do we know when D23 is?
It's soon. I know it's not that far from Comic-Con, so it could be in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, okay. Good times.
But I'm actually surprised that Sony didn't really hit us up with anything, or Fox for that matter. Fox has still got their X-Men franchise coming out. I thought maybe we would have seen a little bit of the Dark Phoenix. I thought we might have seen a bit more from Venom, but no, they were quite quiet, Sony and Fox. So
I think that even if I'd seen both of those things, I'd probably still be feeling the same about Comic-Con, to be honest.
Yeah, so as I said, maybe it's just Disney that holds, those big moments that we all crave, and we'll have to wait for the D23 convention.
Yeah, well, look, and I'm just a little bit hyped from something I didn't know anything about a couple of years ago to now, sort of rivaling Comic-Con is what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
The Disney juggernaut rolls on.
That's right. So let's talk about the trailers that did drop during Comic-Con. The first big one was, of course, the first reveal of Aquaman, the first footage that we've seen.
Yeah.
Now, what did you think? Because I'm quite curious.
Yeah, look, I thought it was pretty cool. I thought the final scenes of that underwater battle, I'm pretty psyched for. I think you can pretty much, I mean, it tells you the whole story. There's going to be no surprises, I don't think, going into the film. But it looked good, like them talking underwater. I'm so glad to see that instead of having to step into a bubble every time.
Yeah,
the visuals were really cool. It made me more excited for this film.
Yeah. Look, I enjoyed it, but I didn't come out of it thinking, oh my God, that's going to be so cool. Like, of previous ones. It's still, I know this is going to sound stupid because a lot of it's underwater, but it still just looks way too blue screen or green screen for me.
Yeah.
Even the part where they're on land, like, this is my big bugbear with all of the DCEU is that it's just all on fucking green screen.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give this one the benefit of the doubt, and I'm hoping that they can steer the ship on this one. But as I said, when you have a look at this one, and then we'll talk about the next DC film, a trailer that we saw, Shazam.
Yep.
Shazam actually looks like they've shot it on real locations.
Exactly. Yep.
The story is set in Philadelphia. So they've actually gone to Philadelphia, and they've actually shot on the streets, which is, something that Marvel do really, really well.
Yeah.
So I was a lot more excited for Shazam than what I was for the Aquaman trailer, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's very true. And as you say, it's been an issue with all of the DC movies, and I think it goes back right to sort of the philosophies of the two companies in a sense, because, Marvel has always been set in the real world, on real streets, real places, real locations, and DC's kind of always been in this other, slightly more elevated universe. And they've translated that by shooting everything on green screen. And you're right, I think what it means is also that the DC universe is going to age worse than the...
I agree with you.
Shame.
Yeah. Like, just going off topic here, but DC has the biggest cities known to man. They've got Gotham City and they've got Metropolis. Those two cities do not have to be green screened.
No.
So, they did some elements really well with Gotham City and Metropolis in Batman v Superman and Man of Steel.
Maybe not setting them across the water from each other, just quietly.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was quite stupid too. But they did still do a lot of green screen. So as I said, I am holding hope for Aquaman. I hope that that it is quite a good movie still. Got faith in James Wan. As you mentioned, that final battle scene looks fucking epic.
Yeah.
Some of the visuals that we're seeing there, we've got these sharks and these fishes with these battle gear.
It's like Dino Riders.
Really cool. I love the fact that Black Manta still looks like Black Manta.
It looks bloody awesome.
I was quite excited for that. I saw a poster for the Ocean Master, and he looks like the Ocean Master from the comics. So they haven't changed quite a lot. I know his look might look a bit stupid, but it is cool to see them, stick fat to the originals. Yeah. But it's a fingers crossed on this one.
And just on the location stuff, I know it's sort of beating a dead horse here, but look at the old Batman series. Gotham there was awesome. And even in the first, I thought, first of Nolan's trilogy, that's where Gotham was the best. But since Dark Knight, it's just gotten worse and worse. So they need to get on that shit, DC. I know, put it on the long list of things you need to work on.
Look, even Tim Burton's Gotham was really cool as well.
Yeah.
That had that real nice gothic look to it. So, that's just one of my bugbears. But as I said, the trailer itself did look good. Yeah. As I said, I wasn't jizzing in my pants after I watched it like previous years. But as I said, we've only got, 5 months to go till we get to see it.
Exactly right.
I'm glad it's not long drawn.
I'm really glad they're keeping with the consistent characterization of having Aquaman scream like an idiot when he jumps out of that plane. I was worried that they were just going to leave that behind, but no, they've maintained it. So at least he has some character.
That was a weird shot to finish your trailer on. Usually, the trailer has a money shot right at the end.
Yep.
I'm like, they put the title card up. I'm like, yep, here we go. Here's the money shot. And then it's just both of them jumping out of a plane in the fucking desert. I thought, maybe they might jump into a plane into the ocean.
No.
That would have been a lot cooler. But they're jumping into the fucking desert. I'm like, why would you finish your trailer on that?
What, your Aquaman trailer jumping into the desert?
Exactly.
You know what it is, though?
The king of the ocean jumping into the desert was your money shot.
Well, he's a fish out of water.
The
problem, not the problem, but I think what they were doing is both the Shazam and the Aquaman trailers both finished on a joke. And I think what they're trying to do is, see, guys, we're not grim and gritty. These are going to be fun movies. That's the impression they want to leave you with. They've done epic, and there've been epic moments in all of their films for all of their faults. But this time they want to show, look, you can come to these and not leave feeling like you want to die. Yeah.
Well, I was watching a video on YouTube. It's a really good site. It's called Mr. Sunday Movies. And he's an Australian guy, and he breaks down a lot of these trailers, and he does a lot of editorials as well, which is really cool. And he brought up a really good point, is that one of the big problems that Justice League had was they showed the first lots of vision at Comic-Con, but the movie didn't come out till 15 months later. So, it was never going to live up to that hype that they were building for such a very long time. So I quite like the fact that we've only got a trailer 5 months before the actual movie's released. And we might get one more, and that's probably it. So they're not having to drawing it out, and they're not having to keep the fans in suspense and building up this massive excitement for it over such a long period of time.
Speaking of, just one, this is a bit of a segue. I've read a really interesting theory the other day about the next Avengers film. You know how in the original trailer we've got for that, we've got the battle in Wakanda, and we've got the Hulk there, and we've got them all sort of running into this battle, and everyone's like, wow, that shot didn't happen. They really set us, threw us for a six there. Yeah. Some people are saying that that's actually still going to happen, and there's going to be some time travel shenanigans in the next one, using the time stone. So, because I was just thinking, why don't they release more trailers where they don't actually show us what's in the film but hype us up in other ways? And I thought that was a good example, but who knows? Just keep that one under your hat for next time. Don't tell anybody, all right?
Well, there were toys released and there were pop vinyls released of the Hulk smashing out of the Hulkbuster suit. So obviously we saw in the film where Bruce Banner
Yeah.
basically couldn't become Hulk, so he went into the Hulkbuster suit.
Mm.
But there were toys released of the Hulk coming out of the Hulkbuster suit. So as you said, maybe there is that time travel element, and that might actually happen in the fourth film.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. So, in case you're wondering, yes, we are Marvel shills. We can't possibly just talk about DC without bringing Marvel into it. But let's get back to DC.
I've always been a DC boy. I still stand by it. I've always grown up on the comics, and those characters were the ones that really got me into the pop culture universe. So I still stand by it, but the Marvel films just shit over everything. So
Okay.
yeah, I've got a toe in each pond in that one.
I like it. Very Aquaman of you. All right,
Yes.
next one.
As we said, the next DC trailer was Shazam. This was the one I was really looking forward to the most, and I got to say, I was not disappointed.
No, I thought this was a great trailer.
It brought back. People are calling it basically a comic book version of the Tom Hanks movie Big, which basically what Shazam is.
Yeah.
So look, I really liked it. As I said off the top, it's actually set in a real world location. We didn't see a lot of green screen, and the way that the two characters play off each other was pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I thought so. The leads that they have are fantastic. Like I should say little kids, but the two young gentlemen were funny, had jokes all the way through, but not kind of like on the nose, obvious jokes. Sort of really interesting humor dynamic. The story looks like it's going to be a pretty straightforward one, but that's kind of what you want from this. And the suit looks awesome.
Yeah, there was a lot of naysayers complaining about the suit, but I thought it looked really cool. And given the story of Shazam, it fits in really well.
Yeah, he's friggin' like ancient avatar of this wizard. Like it's supposed to look otherworldly, but I think they managed that without it looking like some of those early superhero costumes where it does just look like it's been drawn in after the fact.
Yeah,
it's not animated in green or anything like that. It's just cool. And looks bright and colourful.
Yeah, well, I was actually questioning the casting of Zach Levy as well.
Yeah.
But I actually thought he plays it really well.
Yeah. He's got the Fortnite dancers in there.
Yeah.
He's got I don't know, he does seem very young. He's done a fantastic job of playing like he's 16 or whatever he is.
Yeah. Look, this is a clear attempt to try and bring in that younger audience back into the DCEU. And I'm all board for that. My son saw the trailer and he thought it was funny as well. So, they've thrown in the references of that floss dance. So they've got Shazam doing that. So, and as you said, the Fortnite dances as well. So, if this is a superhero version of Big, so be it. I reckon it's going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And I got so excited for it that I actually went and read the comic book that the movie is based on. Jeff Johns wrote the New 52 version of this Shazam. And if the movie is anything like the comic, I think we're in for something really good because the comic is quite special.
Tell me about Savannah because I don't know anything about him.
Yeah, so basically his character is played by Mark Strong in the movie. And in the comic, his family is dying and he's lost all faith in modern medicine. So he's trying to look for something else to try and save his family, which is magic, which is where Shazam comes in. And he's trying to use magic to save his family.
Well, I think this is definitely going to work because what I read was that this Shazam movie is going to be about him, Billy Batson, looking for his family because obviously he's an orphan at the beginning of this.
Yep.
So it's going to have strong family vibes here. I'm excited. I think the people putting this together know what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting because the comic heavily relies upon Black Adam. Like, Black Adam is basically in the comic more than Shazam is. So how far they go with that, whether we will see a shock cameo of The Rock as Black Adam, I'm not sure. That would be an awesome way to finish the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, if anything's like the comic, we're in for something special.
I cannot friggin' wait until we see Black Adam on the big screen. He is one of my OG fave villains, so
yeah,
I'm excited.
No, I didn't know much about him until I read this, and you're right, he's pretty damn cool.
All right,
the next one was Godzilla. Now, I'm not actually sure how the fuck this fits into the other Godzilla film that we saw and the King Kong film. Does this tie in, or
well, apparently,
is it a standalone?
I think it ties in.
So is this a sequel to the first Godzilla that we saw?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Okay.
That's the reading that I've done has said that. Yeah.
Well, I was looking forward to this. And I gotta say, I watched the trailer twice, and I still don't know what the fuck is going on. Like,
I
is
like that though.
is like these other creatures that are coming out. Is this basically the same as the first Godzilla, where Godzilla has to come out and kill these three monsters, or are they getting these three monsters to power up Godzilla? I'm not fucking sure what's going on.
I think well, I assume that Godzilla's going to fight them.
Well,
I think that
pretty
the
clear.
premise is, and look, all you OG Godzilla aficionados can set me straight on this, but I think the premise is, as they're kind of setting up in the trailer, that humans are screwing over the planet, and these giant creatures come to try and reset the balance, and left to their own devices, they would just wipe us out. But Godzilla's like the fail-safe, like the spark plug or the whatever, I'm not very mechanical, that comes in and like just ensures that we're not going to be destroyed. Now, I don't think that's an active decision by him or anything like that. I think that's just the kind of role that he plays. I love this trailer was my favorite out of all of them because
Really?
just not necessarily for what it promised in the film, but just the way it was put together. The visuals were amazing. The use of the fur release was awesome. I think it just, I thought it was almost like a mini film in and of itself. I loved it.
Yeah,
I can't,
that's true. The trailer was a lot different to everything else that we've seen.
Yeah.
It did have a more artistic edge to it than for a big summer blockbuster film.
Yeah, exactly.
So I definitely agree with you there.
I will say though, in the Bryan Cranston Godzilla, we had those awesome shots, but it didn't really pay off to a fantastic film. So I'm hoping that we didn't just see all the money shots in the trailer, and there's still some goodness to come in the movie itself.
Well, I'm actually hoping, because my biggest bugbear with that Godzilla film was that he was basically used as a background piece.
Yep.
Like I want to see Godzilla be the main man like King Kong was in Kong. So fingers crossed that they can right that ship.
My last concern for this one is that Millie Bobby Brown is just typecast as 11. I just keep expecting her to... and it looks like she might even have some kind of mind powers in this film.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on there. But apparently there is something in the Godzilla mythos where there's like heralds of Mothra or something like that, and she might be one of those. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, yeah, that one might be a wait and see. But, as I said, you're showing vision now for a movie that's coming out next year. So it's a big time gap. All right, the next one to come out was Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them sequel. Now, I have to admit, I started watching the first one and fell asleep and wasn't that interested in going back to finish the film. So I'll let you take the reins on this and give your opinion on what you thought and how it plays into the whole Harry Potter mythos.
Sometimes I think that you don't know me at all because I've not seen the first one. And I don't really have a lot of intention to see this thing. I got to say, I didn't mind the trailer. I thought the trailer was good. Yeah. I don't know why Johnny Depp's still getting hired for things, but he looked okay in this.
Yeah.
I
know when his whole story came out about the abuse and stuff, that there was a big protest about having him cut out of the film, but clearly, they swept that under the carpet and just went more forward with it anyway.
Well, it's kind of hard to cut him out of the film when he's the antagonist. But it looks kind of cool. I'm down. I probably still won't see it because I don't have the time to see movies that I just kind of want to see. Yeah. But I mean, if you're Harry Potter head, I've got to say, watching this though, I felt like how my wife must feel when we watch the Avengers trailers, because it's kind of like all these references I'm sure that are there that I'm just like, oh, Dumbledore, I know that name, but that's kind of it. Like that, the drop at the end of the trailer is this Nicholas Flamel alchemist, and I'm like, that's definitely somebody. So I had to look it up, and I'm like, and it was less of a, oh wow, awesome, more of a, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, so that must be very much like what the normies think when they watch the Avengers, although Avengers is pretty mainstream.
I just love the fact that, because you and I basically don't talk before we do a show.
Yeah.
So maybe we should have discussed if we had both seen Fantastic Beasts and whether we should include it in the show.
We need a little thing in our show notes like seen, yes, no, care, yes, no.
Yeah, maybe we should do that from now on.
My only thing is...
Or maybe I'm like, I haven't seen the first one. Maybe I should ask you, have you seen it, just to make sure that, we've got some knowledge on what we're actually talking about.
My only real knowledge of this series is that he looks incredibly like an ex-student of mine. So every time I'm looking at this, I'm like, you go, Thomas. You go catch those fantastic beasts.
Good on you, Thomas.
Yeah. Sure.
All right. Well, the last trailer that dropped was Alita Battle Angel. Now, again, I know nothing about this, so I'm hoping that you've read into it a little bit.
Well, they had released the trailer for this already. So this is kind of just like an updated trailer, and they made a couple of things, like they made her googly eyes a little bit less googly,
Yep.
which is positive. Christoph Waltz looks. I mean, everyone looks pretty good in it. I've got to say, the world looks really interesting. It's If you don't know the story at all, it's one of those classic sort of anime set in the future. She's an abandoned kind of, I don't know what they call them, but like cyborg. She gets taken in, remade, and it turns out she's this badass. And she's got, in classic anime style, has no memory and will regain her memory as she goes. So kind of Ghost in the Chalie in that way. But looks really cool.
Yeah, so it's based off a manga property, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Looks awesome. I'll definitely see it. It got some flack again for whitewashing, but I think I think the story is actually set in America, even in the original manga. So it hasn't been as bad. Just Jennifer Connelly's in it, so that makes me really excited.
Yes, we do know your love affair with Jennifer Connelly.
Well, look, she just keeps sending me letters, so that I write to myself.
Handwritten letters?
Yeah. Well, look, I might write the letters myself. I did get a letter from a lawyer once, which is, kind of like anyone from her. But yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Restraining orders do not count as letters from her.
It's personalized. I have my name on it.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you like your cyberpunk, you'll like this film, I reckon.
The only thing I'm quite excited for is the director. Robert Rodriguez directed this.
Yeah, good point.
And back in the 90s, I was in love with this man. Like the shit that he was doing was so different from everyone else.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of went off the rails a little bit. So I'm hoping, he comes back to his true form. But this has got like a $200 million budget. And
it's not going to make that.
No, it's not going to make that money back. I don't think these, films, unless these films like knock it out of the park and gives us something different, I don't know if they're going to make their money back on that one. That's a huge gamble by Fox.
Yeah, I'm surprised who green-lighting these. Obviously, people who just are in love with the source material, or they think, it's a comic, so I'm going to make my Avengers money.
Yeah. So
I'm not quite sure what's going on there.
Yeah, no, it's a good luck for them with that one because, I don't see them, getting their money back, especially, how badly Ghost in the Shell did. Even with its controversy, I don't see this one
exactly right.
be set in the box office
so
alight.
Next time you want to drop $200 million on a movie, guys, come and check with us first. And I gotta say, I've got a really good trolley movie just in the back burner, ready to go.
You only need $200 for that.
I could do it with $20 in a 6-pack.
We've been trying to sell this movie for 2 years on this podcast, and still no letters.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, well, let's kick into the movie news, shall we?
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
All right, off the top, one of my favorite actors of all time, and it's an actor I reckon you still need to be introduced to a lot of his good work, and that's Robert De Niro. He's been touted as possibly joining the new Joaquin Phoenix Joker film.
Yeah, which is pretty exciting. Any ideas who he might play?
No, not at all. So I don't know, maybe if he's playing his dad possibly, but we don't know nothing about this. As we spoke about on the last show, it would be cool if they did a little bit of the Killing Joke, Joker's origin. Maybe he could play an owner of the club that he's bombing in possibly. That would be a pretty cool role.
Or like
but
a
I'm
mob
guessing,
or
possibly a mob
boss
boss
or something like that, yeah.
Yep. He plays those characters really well, but that's a really great addition to that cast.
Yeah, I completely agree. And what it shows is that they're willing to drop money into this film and get the big name talent. So that excites me.
Yeah. It's so cool. As I said, he's joining that one. Then we've got Al Pacino joining the Quentin Tarantino film.
Yeah.
I love both of those two guys, so it's going to be awesome to see them, in really big feature films, not just these little ones that they've been doing of late.
Yeah, I completely
agree.
Hopefully we're having a bit of a renaissance for them. Just off topic for a second, I showed my wife The Godfather for the first time this week.
Yeah.
And she liked it, which we were watching it and, horse head in the bed. She was not into that.
Well, that was like the first 5 minutes.
Exactly
so you
right.
Really caught her attention there.
And what's the name of the big bloke again who gets strangled? I can't remember. Anyway, that happens in the first 5 minutes as well. And I was watching these things. I'm like, I forgot all about this before showing her. And it took us like 3 nights to get through it because with the little one, you can't watch Godfather while he's crying away. But she eventually got through it. And I'm like, what did you think? And she's like, no, I liked it. I'm like, oh my God, she actually liked this. It shows the power of this movie. And then in my head, I'm like, great, we're going to get to watch Godfather 2 now. And I told her about the story. We get to go back and see Vito and his coming to America. She's like, oh, that sounds good. The next night, all right, so you want to watch Godfather 2 now? And she's like, I think I'm done with The Godfather for this year. And I'm like, oh, damn.
I'm actually impressed that you went back and watched it again, because you only just watched them recently.
Yeah.
6 months ago?
That's why I wanted to watch it again, because I really enjoyed it. So and it's a great film. So I'm glad I got to go back and have a look.
Well, there you go. I am super impressed that you dipped your toe back into the Godfather realm.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Sorry.
As we said off the top of the show, Star Wars Episode 9 has released its cast.
Yeah.
And there was one major inclusion that I wasn't expecting, and that is Mark Hamill is back for Episode 9.
Yeah, does this mean... Hopefully they just, pretended he didn't die.
Yeah,
that would
maybe
be my...
they're just going to try and completely ignore Episode 8 and just keep him around.
No,
and then
yeah.
maybe we might go back to Porg Island and Ray is handing in the lightsaber, and this time he might actually appreciate it and hold on to it rather than throw it over his shoulder.
I saw some art that a fan did online of them on the island and Ray's blindfolded with a double-bladed lightsaber and Luke's sort of standing behind her during the tutoring thing, and I'm like, that is what that movie should have been.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it was so frustrating. Yeah, so that's my goal, but I don't think it's going to be it. Flashbacks, I'm sure.
Yes, and another surprising inclusion is that Carrie Fisher is going to be in this film, and they're going to use previously unreleased footage shot from The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi.
Yeah, they're going to get a whole, hello, Smithers, you're quite good at turning me on, but for Princess Leia.
Yeah, it's quite surprising because my theory was that they were going to do a time jump and we'd maybe start the film at her funeral, so... Clearly not.
Well, unless there's Princess Leia as, Carrie Fisher as the corpse or something like that. Do stuff.
That's a bit cold, but
she would laugh. She had a great sense of humor about herself.
Yes, I agree. All right. Well, speaking of Disney, they have finally finalized the deal with Fox Studios to bring all their properties over. There was a slight caught a bit of hesitation because Comcast had put in a massive bid, but Disney, being the powerhouse that it was never going to let them outbid them. And they've they've come to agreement to buy them out for $52 billion.
That would make a lot of trolley movies.
That would make a hell of a lot of trolley movies.
Can I just say, though, in the future, I don't think we're going to have to say speaking of Disney, because that will basically be the whole podcast.
Yes, that'll just be all Disney properties that we talk about. But yeah, so now we finally get to see, hopefully, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, quite possibly Deadpool, join the MCU.
Now, a lot of people, there's actually a lot of worry about this merger, about, Disney getting too big, there's a monopoly. Disney have been known to put negative pressure, particularly on small movie houses and things like that, basically saying, you can't show our movie unless you show it for 6 weeks straight, and things like that. So all of that is really bad, and I acknowledge that, and this might be the first stage of a dystopian future where the mouse kind of owns us. Yes. But come on, X-Men and Avengers.
Exactly. If they keep pumping out good movies, I don't give a fuck what they do.
Give me 1984 if they can give me the Avengers with the X-Men in them.
Exactly.
I'm fine.
If they keep pumping out those movies, I'm more than happy to fucking live in that world.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. As long as we're on the same page, we can live in that dystopia together.
Absolutely. And speaking of Disney, one of their big properties is The Jungle Book. And we spoke about previously how Andy Serkis is doing a film called Mowgli, which is kind of bad timing considering we had such the great Jon Favreau The Jungle Book years ago. But massive news came out today, and I was quite surprised when I saw it on the rundown sheet, is that Netflix has actually bought the property off Warner Brothers, and they're going to distribute it on their streaming service.
Netflix is up to shenanigans. This is pretty exciting for us. Sucks for Andy Serkis, I think. I'm sure he got money for it, but still.
Yeah, it was funny because I was actually reading a quote, and he was quite happy with it. He actually said something like, let me just bring it up. He goes, it's great that the film doesn't have the pressure that it would have if it was released in cinemas.
That's fair enough, yeah.
But it's a weird thing to say. Wouldn't he have known that before he started the production on it, that it was going to have such this massive pressure on it to be as good as what those films were?
I guess, though, if it's something you really want to do, you sort of put that aside. But as it gets closer to release date, you start thinking, have I fucked up? And this, and this kind of takes... Yeah, he's right. That takes that pressure off because it's kind of done what it's going to do.
Look, we said when we saw the trailer that we thought this film was going to be a flop.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure it'll be great, but a great flop.
I reckon they might have read that writing on the wall as well.
Yeah.
And they're like, shit, let's try and sell it to someone before we release it. So apparently this has got quite stunning 3D. So they said they might do a limited release at the cinemas so you can actually experience this film in 3D. They were always trying to have this as a PG film, but now it's on Netflix. They can try and make it a lot more deeper and darker.
Gore, that's what we want to see.
Exactly. So, that was quite a surprise. And as I said, this might be... We said it when that film Annihilation came out, when Netflix bought the rights to it and they were going to drop it 2 weeks after the theatrical release.
Yeah.
So now we're actually getting a big motion picture film, and it's not even going to be pushed back or delayed. It's just going to be released straight on Netflix. So good on them.
I wonder if it'll be the start of the continuing of a trend where, as you say, like they can make this more grittier. I wonder if it'll be the place where filmmakers will shop their properties when studios aren't, studios want more control. If Netflix is happy to say, you just make the movie and give it to us, I wonder if more filmmakers will go there and we'll have a kind of straight-to-television renaissance.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So it could be, the change of guard. As we keep talking about Disney, and their dominance, we might see... Netflix slowly chip away at that. So
although
who knows?
With Disney basically going to be taking all of their property off of Netflix because they're going to have their own streaming service, and now Walmart coming out with their own bloody streaming service. Every man and his dog is going to have a streaming service. So who knows? Maybe this is Netflix trying to prepare for the inevitable 1,000 streaming service future. Yeah,
well, DC have got one coming out as well. So.
Oh, with their Teen Titans. Actually, that was another trailer that came out of Comic-Con that we can talk about.
Oh, yes, we didn't talk about that. Oh, man. And it's probably a good reason why we didn't talk about that, because that looks like shit. So maybe we'll talk about that when the actual show comes out.
When we get more,
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, there's a fantastic comic book series that I think both of us loved, and we know we both loved the original film, and that was Sin City.
Yeah.
The property was owned by... Harvey Weinstein's Miramax company, and with all of that going to shit, Frank Miller was able to regain the rights for Sin City, and he's now possibly going to produce it as a TV series.
That could be cool, or it could be terrible, but it could be cool.
No, I reckon that world belongs in a TV series because they can do so much with it.
In a serial.
And especially the visual style as well that Robert Rodriguez produced in the first one. And the stories themselves that live inside this Sin City, I reckon this could be an awesome TV show.
Do you think they're going to continue with the same style? Like, it'll be stylized, but I don't know about a whole television series in that really stark black and white. What do you think?
No, I think it could work. As I said, now that the TV landscape, I'm not saying it's going to look the same, but because there is, as you said, so many streaming services, they have to be filled with content. So... if you're just going to get fucking piles and piles of the same shit, it'll be different.
Yeah,
it'll be
fair
awesome to see something a lot different.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my thinking anyway.
And to be honest, look, this is me really speaking out of my ass here, but I don't think it would be much more expensive than producing another television series, because all of it would be on green screen, and a lot of it would be sort of done in post. So look, I don't think it's cost prohibitive compared to like shooting on location, for example.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, speaking of TVs, one of the massive TV shows back in the 60s and 70s, I believe it was 70s, I'm going to say, was Charlie's Angels. A couple of years ago, or a long time ago, we got a spin-off movie series, which spawned 3 films, I think it was, 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think it was 3.
Well, by the worst director of all time, a guy named McGee. I'm so glad we don't get any of his films anymore.
Hey, here's our one listener. Just ruined him.
Now we're going to get a new a new film directed by Elizabeth Banks, who did the Pitch Perfect films, I believe.
She's good.
And we're going to see a new hot young cast, which features Kristen Stewart, Naomi from Twilight, Naomi Scott from the Power Rangers films, and Ella Balanska, who I don't know her previous work.
No, I'm excited to see Kristen Stewart in something like where she gets to have fun.
Yeah, something where she might actually smile in.
Yeah, look,
She might look happy in.
exactly. I didn't see that American Ultra, but she looked like she was having a lot more fun, and she looked very charismatic. It looked good, so I'm excited because I think she's got the chops. She just hasn't really had a chance to do anything.
Well, I love Elizabeth Banks. I think
she's awesome.
Super talented, extremely funny, and the Pitch Perfect films were quite good. So if she can bring some of that into the Charlie's Angels world, and she's also going to be playing the Bill Murray role from the TV as Bosley. So who knows? Could be quite exciting.
Yeah. I looked up that Ella Balinska, and there's a reason you haven't heard of her. She hasn't really done much. So exciting, new talent.
Yep, new talent on the screen. All right, well, there was a story that came out during the week, and it sounds quite funny, but I don't know how well it's going to work. Ryan Reynolds wants to produce and possibly star in a adult version of the John Hughes classic Home Alone, but it's going to be called Stoned Alone. So basically, the story is that this guy misses his family trip, ski trip, so he just stays home and gets stoned. But paranoia starts to set in when he thinks he hears an intruder where it actually is an intruder. So just think of Macaulay Culkin character stoned, thinking that he's actually getting his house robbed, and he actually is getting his house robbed. So, again, it's a wait and see on that one.
Yeah.
But the premise sounds pretty funny.
Two things here. Number one, hopefully this kicks off a whole new slew of porn parodies, but stoner parodies, where they just take all these famous movies and remake them with stoner central characters. And two, they either need to get the original Wet Bandits to play the villains, so Joe Pesci and Stern.
Daniel Stern.
I was going to say Howard Stern or something like that. Or they need to get Macaulay Culkin as the villain. That would be cool, because he kind of looks like someone who'd break into your house now. So make that happen.
I would fucking love the Wet Bandits to come back.
They're still doing it.
I would fucking love it. Yeah, I know Joe Pesci retired, but he did come out of retirement to do this new Scorsese film called The Irishman. I would fucking love those two to come back as Harry and Marv,
even just for a cameo.
Yeah, it would be so cool. Or as you said, it would be also very cool for Macaulay Culkin to be one of the robbers as well.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Maybe the three of them.
That would be a good spin. A cult classic TV show has been teased for like 2 years that a film might actually happen. Well, it sounds like it actually is happening now, and one of your favorites, Deadwood, might be hitting the big screen.
Yeah, exactly right. So I'm pretty excited by this, and it looks like all the cast is coming back. If you haven't seen Deadwood, you should definitely go and check it out. I don't want to go into the story because it's one of those ones you need to watch from the beginning. But just the setting and the characters were just so amazing, and the actors did such a great job that it kind of deserves a film, I think.
Well, we spoke about previously how Sopranos and Sex in the City was a game changer. This was as well.
Yeah.
Like, we hadn't really seen anything. Like, this stemmed from those two, but this was like the next step and the next evolution of TV to where we are now. So, as you said, the film has one of the worst language counts I've ever seen in my life. Full frontal nudity, extreme violence, very violent encounters. So, it's got a bit of everything, which is, what we're really seeing now in the likes of, Game of Thrones and Walking Dead. So, as you said, if you haven't seen it, definitely go out and watch this one.
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right, well, the Men in Black film is coming back, and a OG character, an actress, Emma Thompson, is coming back in this next film.
Yeah, and look, I'll see her in anything because she's fantastic. But I don't know, I'm kind of getting excited about this now.
Yeah, no, I know they've already started production, so it is actually happening. But as I said, I wasn't necessarily a big fan of the first one, so I'll let you share the hype in this one.
Oh, okay, cool. And look, I only liked the first of the original. I think it was a trilogy in the end. But the world is cool. The source material is good. Liam Hemsworth is awesome. Emma Thompson is great. I'm excited.
Yeah. All right, well, that's the end of the movie news, and we're going to talk about something else now. Here in Australia, 51 working Australian film critics took a poll on the top 25 Australian films of this century, and it's quite a surprise that this one actually made the list, but then again, not a surprise either, and that's Mad Max Fury Road topped the list of the best Australian film of the 21st century so far.
Which, look, it's a great film, but there are a lot of good Australian films.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, yes, it is an Australian production, but it's not necessarily like an Australian production. Like, it was still produced by Warner Brothers, still had a lot of American ties to it. So is this necessarily an Australian film? Begs the question.
Yeah.
But I have to agree, this film was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. It was a polls of a lot of different critics. And normally critics go for, like, the underdog, but here they've really just gone for the big one.
Yeah. So we thought we'd talk about our top 3 Australian films that we love the most. You want to start with your number 3?
Yeah, sure. And I don't really have these in a particular order because I couldn't really switch them around. But I'll break them up. My first of my top 3, and this is a film that I hated when I first saw it, but over the years has really grown on me. It's Strictly Ballroom. Yeah, which is a little bit, I know it's a little bit funny, but it is just such a really well-made film. It tells a good story. It's expertly put together. The characters are great and charming. Even Paul Mercurio, when he's being sort of a little bit whiny, is still a great character. There's great arcs there. It's just a solid movie with like really interesting Australian quirks in it. I just think it's a really overlooked film, and it's worth another watch if you haven't seen it in a few years. And it's very quotable too. So, and the problem is because not too many people are as into it as I am, I'll quote it, and then people give me looks. Like, you're talking about Pan Pacific, so I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Yeah. So it's worth, if you haven't seen it in a few years, definitely go out and check it because it's a really good Australian film. I mean, the film that really kicked off Baz Luhrmann's career.
Yeah, absolutely. And my number 3 is a Baz Luhrmann film as well. And it kind of on the same realm as Mad Max Fury Road. It's not necessarily an Australian film, but it was shot here. It does have a big Australian cast. And it's a film that I actually adore, and it's fucking Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
I've said it many times. I've never seen a film that has the pace of the first 35 to 40 minutes of this film does. The way he can quickly move through this story and just throw multiple things at you that you don't expect to stick, and then you just in absolute awe of what he's presenting in that first 35 minutes. And the story itself is so good, and the way that he can incorporate all these fantastic pop culture references, all this modern music into this story that's set, back in the 1940s or 30s, Paris, is incredible. I absolutely adore this film.
Yep.
I loved it since the first time I seen it back at Cinema 3 at Hoyt's Water Gardens on our massive screen that we had back then. I was in awe of it then, and I'm still in awe of it now.
There are 2 films that I've seen 5 times at the movies. Avatar was one, and this one was the other. Because, like you, I was just enamored with it.
Yeah, as I said, and I've watched it recently again, and it still holds up now. I still think it's fucking incredible, and the story itself, it's pretty special what he's done here, and the way that he's incorporated the music into it as well. And I love the fact that he set up this villain in the Duke, but the Duke never really did anything wrong. He was just the wrong bloke at the wrong time who fell in love with a girl who was already in love with someone else.
Yeah.
I never saw him as the bad guy. I always felt sorry for this bloke who, as I said, yes, he was an asshole, but he did nothing wrong really to her or to what they were trying to do. Like, they fooled him to give him money to produce this show.
That's true.
Thinking because he can see his woman that he's in love with in a show, and then he just gets rolled at the end. And I'm like, this poor bloke did nothing wrong.
Wasn't he abusive, though? Didn't he attack her?
Well, I never said he was perfect, okay? I didn't say he was perfect, but he didn't have like this big grand scheme to screw everyone over.
No, of course not. He was just petty and selfish and
exactly
abusive, yeah.
It was just one of those uppity people who had been fed with a silver spoon his whole life, and I think he did nothing wrong. Hashtag the Duke did nothing wrong.
Definitely not joining that hashtag. The man had to be put down by by Nicole Kidman's friend when he attacked her. I'm not going to support that.
Oh, as I said, he was just taking advantage of us.
Okay, cool.
I never said he was perfect.
Yeah, well, it's true. All right, so my next one, I think I'm going to go with. I'm going to ride this Baz Luhrmann train, and the next one, again, it's kind of like in that same vein of mostly Australian, but elements that aren't. And Great Gatsby, which I think is just bloody awesome movie, and it's Baz Luhrmann at the height of his powers. It's a great adaptation. It's a movie that I can just put on any time and watch. And like a lot of Australian talent behind the scenes. So even though there's only one real Australian actor in the main sort of cast of four, it's still I think a fantastic film. And yeah, it's very watchable. I can watch it any day, any time.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on this one. I fucking hated this movie so much.
Yeah, you're not alone.
No, I hated this. It was so fucking long and it was so boring. And again, it was just shot completely on green screen, which I hated.
Yeah.
We've got these fantastic locations here and they didn't use any of them. So, as I said, I hated that film. As much as I love Baz Luhrmann and I was looking forward to it, oh man, this was a major disappointment for me.
Yeah, and look, a lot of people share that. I in this film, I didn't mind the green screen because I felt like the whole thing was supposed to be this sort of heightened, dreamlike state. But I really dig it for that reason. Yeah, I think it works. Yeah, and I was actually wrong. There's actually quite a few main cast. There's obviously Joel Edgerton, but also what's his face is as well. Jason Clarke, who's getting good
that's
run.
true.
And the girl I can't remember her name, Adelaide Clemens. Anyway, go on.
Yeah.
What's your next one?
All right. Well, my number 2, I was splitting hairs between these two, so I might give a special mention to the original Mad Max. That one is an absolute classic. It was shot for basically nothing, and it's shot all around Victoria. And if you have a look, you can see all these different locations. And it basically started a whole genre here in Australia, and it kind of put Australian filmmaking on the map at that time. So I'm a special mention to Mad Max. But my second favorite Australian film has to be Red Dog. I remember watching this, and it was just like a month after a dog that I had for 15 years just passed away. And I remember... I don't think I've ever cried as much as I did at the end of that film, and for as long as I did, because I don't think I really dealt with it at the time when my dog passed away. So this one just brought everything back. But not only was I emotional about it as well, it was such a great story, and it had so many great Australian characters. And as you said, with Strictly Ballroom, it had such Australian vernacular that only Australians would understand. So I would definitely recommend Red Dog to anyone.
Yeah, it is one of those classic Aussie films that everyone talks about and loves.
And have that box of tissues handy. You're going to need it.
Yeah, but not because it shows a lot of skin, because it's sad.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, my third one is not another Baz Luhrmann one. Don't worry, guys. It's actually the bloke who wrote and directed it, Gregor Jordan. Doesn't really do a lot. The last thing he did really was an episode of Suits, and it's a real shame because this film, Two Hands. From 1999, very awesome Australian movie, and it's the first Australian film that I saw that I thought, yes, this like Australia cinema has like a lot to offer because it's just a fantastic story. Like the first film that introduced me to Heath Ledger and Rose Byrne, who are both, well, one of them's still alive, but they're both phenomenal actors. They've both done amazing things. The story is slick. It really came out of that time when sort of like those kind of fast-paced crime films were all the rage. Like every student filmmaker was making them, and it takes a special film in that climate to stand out. If you haven't seen Two Hands, go and check it out. Bob Brown as well, I think he's one of his best roles, besides obviously Breaking Morant or something like that. But a really fantastic movie, particularly for a Heath Ledger fan. He's just so bloody charming.
If you didn't have this on your list, I would have had this on my list because, like you, it is one of my favorite Australian films. And as you said, this film is so good because it's not necessarily what Australian films fall into the problem with is that, you know, they have to sell themselves as Australian films. Yeah. Where this film is a great crime story. Like it didn't have to be set in Australia; it could be set anywhere. Yeah. And I think this is what sets these apart from everywhere else, or the other Australian films that we've spoken about because they're
just good movies.
Yes, where this could have been shot anywhere. And I think that's, as I said, that's the problem with Australian films where they need to have this Australian element. But this was just a great crime story. So I agree with you on Two Hands.
I will say, though, there is an Australian-ness to these movies. Like the voice that they're told in is quite Australian. Like just some of the humour and some of the events and the characterizations are very Australian. But you're right. The core story, the plot, the arc is universal.
Yeah, and I would love to see those type of films more come out of Australia rather than, the outback films or the films set in the desert where you got these yobos or you got
Like the
boat
film
somewhere.
Australia, for example.
Exactly. Another fucking film that annoyed me so much. We've got all these beautiful landscapes
Yeah,
and
that
they're
is
shot
true.
in green screens. I still remember they did this one where they're sitting by a campfire out in the desert.
Yeah.
And it was all fucking on stage. I was just like, nah, you've lost me on that one. All right. Well, all right. Now, my number one Australian film, and it's the one that put Eric Bana on the international
The
list.
Hulk.
Exactly. The Hulk, which was a kind of a black mark on his IMDb list. But Chopper, the film about Mark Chopper Reed, the great Australian crime story, the kind of Ned Kelly of the 21st century, I would say, in Australia.
You're going to get a lot of angry comments about that.
Especially Melbourne folklore. It was an incredible film. As I said, put Eric Bana on the list. He kind of stopped being a comedian and a comedic actor and actually went into drama after this film. He made the A-list over at Hollywood on the back of this film.
Yeah.
And the film itself is such a great story of, this crime bloke that lived in Melbourne, Victoria.
You know what? Eric Bana as a character or as a person that he's never, like, besides a few select roles like this, he's never really blown me away. But I really wish he was doing more.
Yeah.
Because he's very watchable. He seems like a really nice guy. Whoever is Eric Bana's agent, if Eric Bana wants to work more, you need to be getting off your ass and getting him in stuff.
Or if he wants to come on the podcast, we're more than happy to have him as a guest.
Yeah, we'll only charge him a nominal fee.
He seems to have a lot of free time because he doesn't seem to be doing much. So if
Yeah.
he wants to jump on, more than welcome to.
Yeah. But yeah, Chopper, great film.
Yes, absolutely. All right, well, what did you think of our top 3 films of Australians? Did we miss one? Do you agree with one? Do you disagree with one? I love those arguments a lot more than the ones you agree with. Let us know on our Facebook page or send us a message. That wraps up the show for this week. I've been Sean Pierce.
And I've been Sean Kelly.
Let your week be a good week. Until next week.